Shooting at Everglades National Park, officials say the shooter took aim at park rangers. So let's get right over to Local 10's Leanne Morejon.
No one was injured, and that shooter was taken into custody.
They thought it was an alligator. That's the mistake everything hinges on. March 2012, South Florida, just outside Homestead, where the Everglades begin to blur into drainage canals and farmland. A wildlife patrol sweeps the water with a spotlight. The beam hits two eyes. In this ecosystem, eyeshine is a fingerprint. Red means alligator. Pale yellow means American crocodile. But these eyes don't fit either category. They're too far apart. The patrol assumes it's just a large nuisance gator and moves closer. 10 meters out, the animal reacts. Not by diving, not by slipping under the surface. It charges. It explodes out of the water, slams into the bank, and runs, fully lifting its body off the ground. Not crawling, sprinting, nearly 14 kilometers per hour, straight into the sawgrass. By the time the rangers reach the bank, it's gone. The report is quietly filed away as a misidentification. But that night didn't disappear. It waited. 4 years later, a genetics lab delivers an answer no one was prepared for. The tissue samples don't belong to an American alligator. They don't belong to an American crocodile. They belong to something that isn't supposed to be in Florida at all. 7,000 miles away, on another continent, Africa. And that's when the story stops being about an invasive species and starts becoming something far worse. To understand why this is a problem, you need to understand how stable the Everglades used to be. This ecosystem runs on strict boundaries. For thousands of years, two predators ruled without overlap. Alligators owned the freshwater interior. American crocodiles stayed near the coast, in brackish canals and mangroves. They didn't compete, they didn't cross paths. The system worked because everyone knew their place. Then, in the mid-2000s, fishermen started noticing something unsettling. The biggest American crocodiles, the ones that had held the same basking spots for decades, were gone, not dead, displaced. And in nature, apex predators don't abandon territory unless something stronger pushes them out. At the time, scientists blamed the obvious enemy: Burmese pythons. This was the height of the python panic. Mammal populations were collapsing. Headlines screamed invasion. So when locals reported seeing dark, aggressive reptiles moving through inland canals, experts waved it off. Misidentified gators, swimming pythons, nothing new. But the behavior didn't match. These animals didn't lie still in the sun. They watched boats. They followed movement. While everyone focused on snakes, something else had already slipped in, hidden by expectation. The first real clue didn't come from a sighting. It came from corpses. Rangers began finding dead reptiles torn apart in ways pythons don't kill. Constrictors leave skeletons intact. These bodies were twisted, shredded, destroyed by rotational force. A death roll. But the bite marks were wrong. Too wide for an alligator. Too violent for an American crocodile. Whatever was hunting Silver Bluff Creek wasn't just unfamiliar. It was optimized. In 2009, a small crocodile is captured near Miami. Barely a hatchling. At first glance, it looks normal. Almost. Biologists notice something subtle but disturbing. The armor doesn't look organic. The bony plates on its back, scutes, are perfectly aligned. No gaps, no irregularity. It's not evolved chaos, it's engineered symmetry. Then there's the temperament. American crocodiles panic briefly, then shut down to conserve energy. This animal doesn't stop fighting. It growls, not hissing, but low, sustained, aggressive. This isn't fear, it's confidence. The team considers every possibility. Mutation, environmental contamination, hybridization, but the growth data destroys those explanations. Over the next few years, more animals are captured, not hatchlings this time, subadults, and they're growing nearly 30% faster than native crocodiles. In the wild, that advantage isn't incremental. It's catastrophic. Faster growth means earlier dominance, earlier reproduction, earlier control of territory. It means you eat first and last. DNA sequencing finally removes all doubt. The results don't point to Central America. They don't point to the Caribbean. They point to one of the most dangerous predators on Earth, the Nile crocodile, a species responsible for hundreds of human deaths every year. An apex generalist that doesn't specialize, it consumes. Even more disturbing, the genetic markers trace these animals to a specific population in South Africa. They didn't drift here, they were imported. Somewhere in the late 1990s, exotic pet collectors brought them in as hatchlings. When they grew too large, the cages opened, and Florida became their habitat. But species identification is only half the nightmare. The timeline is worse. The captured animals are siblings, which means their parents, two fully mature Nile crocodiles, had already been breeding in the Everglades years earlier. To produce offspring by 2009, the adults had to arrive around the year 2000. For over a decade, massive African apex predators lived undetected in suburban Florida. They survived hurricanes, cold snaps, the python invasion. We found their children. We never found them. And now comes the real danger. Nile crocodiles can interbreed with American crocodiles. In captivity, similar hybrids grow larger, more aggressive, and more adaptable than either parent. The native American crocodile is trapped by temperature. Cold winters limit its range. The Nile crocodile isn't. A hybrid wouldn't just stay in the swamp. It could push north into residential canals, flood zones, backyards. The invisible fence is breaking. Florida now operates under a shoot-on-sight policy for Nile crocodiles. Total eradication, but the Everglades are 1.5 million acres of flooded grass, tunnels, and black water. A jetliner crashed here in 1972, and parts of it were never recovered. If an airplane can disappear, so can crocodiles. We spent years watching the snakes, and while we were looking down, something else was watching us from the waterline. The Everglades didn't just gain a new predator, it gained a ruler, and in this kingdom, we are no longer visitors. We are food.